Aloha, my name is Kauai. Many of you watching this, I've already introduced myself. As I said then, my mom, Lyla Berg, is a candidate for Lieutenant Governor. She's not a career politician, but she's dedicated to public service. Recently, she participated in the Kauai Chamber of Commerce Forum for Lieutenant Governor. For a few minutes of your time, please let me share some of her comments with you. Her passion for the public sector comes out loud and clear. Mom was asked a question on education. That's something she knows very well.
Representative Berg.
Thank you. I think you'll see that besides the obvious difference, I'm also apart from the group because I've been in the classroom and also I've been a school principal. I'd like to clarify before I go on, but your question was, what are the two top issues that we would be concerned about? And before I do that, I'd like to clarify also for the audience that we did not receive the race for the top. In fact, I was in Washington, D.C. Last month meeting with USDA Secretary, DOE Secretary Arne Duncan, because I wanted to hear from him directly where Hawaii stands. As a former school person and a teacher, was very disingenuous, I guess, disappointed in the fact that we are not aligned here. The unions, the governor, and the Board of Education, the DOE, made the decision for furlough, period. The legislature always had the money there. So if we talk about the two different changes that need to happen, or the two focuses, one is that we need to have a paradigm shift from status quo to focus on the learning of young people and learning of children from early childhood to adult learning in the community colleges. Having been a community college and a UH College of Ed professor myself, I think that we can address the need for jobs from that perspective of helping people redefine themselves through the education system. The other particular thing that we need to be focusing on, priority, is governance. An appointed school board most definitely would change the profile and change the energy of how decisions are made. The legislature should not be making decisions on policy for schools. That's the responsibility for the board. So if we're able to do that and to empower the school community councils to not have only advisory capacity, but approval capacity with the principals, I believe we will see changes at the classroom level, which is really where it matters. What happens to our children on a daily basis. One of the bills that I introduced that got passed this year into statute is to set and increase the instructional time for students. The union is not real thrilled, and those of you out there, I don't blame you because it will cost money. However, the children will be served, and that's what's important. Thank you.
Before I bring you to the next question, one comment on education. I'm very proud to say my mom is a PhD in education. The next question is on ag and farming. Here's her answer.
Representative Berg.
Thank you for that question. Like all of my colleagues at the table, we have legislative experience, and we're all small business folks, and I think even maybe John Rickey is also a nonprofit CEO, as I have been. But I bet that none of these gentlemen has been a farmer, as I have been on the island of Molokai when I was a vice principal. So if you ask me how to strengthen farming, this is what I would like to suggest. First and foremost, to relook at the important Ag Lands bill that we passed in the legislature. Many of our legislation pieces that we passed through in Honolulu many of the pieces are Honolulu-centric. And thanks to your mayor here, Mayor Carvalho, who has put together the first mayor's task force on agriculture, even the Big Island mayor now has followed suit. So one of the things that you can do here on this island is support the Mayor's Council, weigh in as a community, because the important Ag Lands bill, as seductive as the pieces in that bill may sound, have direct impact on what's going to happen to your ag lands and to your Mauka lands, and especially to the smaller properties on the neighbor islands. I believe also that what could happen is that the community can put together such initiatives as the Kauai Agriculture Initiative, have the Mayor's Garden, have a number of community activities that demonstrate to the state and to the legislature that agriculture is not a hobby. Agriculture is a way of life, and agriculture must be what we preserve and ensure and restore. As an educator, a career educator, I would also encourage the schools to reinvent the ag departments. Our 4-H programs when I was on Molokai and in Kailua were absolutely stellar. You have one 4-H club here, I believe, that's a conglomeration of the different schools. It must come into every school. As well as strengthening the laws. One of the comments was that we have to empower the Water Commission. The Water Commission and the Land Commission are empowered. We have to enable them to have the kind of authority so that the laws are enforced. And the last thing that I would ask is for coherence between state and county zoning. Thank you.
I'm just curious, what did you farm on Molokai?
I raised goats and pigs and cows and turkeys, and we also planted edible crops, tomatoes and corn.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It was fun.
She was also asked for her thoughts on managing our state hospitals.
Thank you. If the two questions, the question had to do with two parts. How do we address reimbursement? And
Correct.
how do we deal with the continued losses?
Correct.
Right. As a small business owner myself, and all of you in the audience, I would assume as you're here on invitation from the Chamber, are also involved in small business, that when there's continued loss, there's obviously mismanagement, that there are procedures and there are processes that are not working. And I think it behooves the executive department, as the place where the buck stops, to make an assessment and ask the departments to find out where the mismanagement is happening. In terms of addressing the reimbursements, it's a matter of money. And money seems to be the top of mind for everyone. What I would like us to be able to consider also is that in order to have more money to be available for the reimbursements, that maybe we need to look at having a coherent communication system among all of the hospitals. Each hospital has a different communication system of keeping records, of having information being transferred, and they also have different purchasing agreements. If we're talking about a state system of state hospitals, then it has to be coherent. And one of the things that I would hope is that the executive department would ask different questions. If we're always asking the same question, we're going to have the same answers. And from where I've sat in the legislature, in the House for the last 6 years, it appears that this particular issue is one that's very personal, not only to the islands, but to certain legislators in the House and Senate that have personal relationships. We have to be able to be more objective about looking at processes and procedures.
The next clip is a general request for each candidate to comment on themselves. Who are you? Here's my mom's answer.
I stand before you because, as Abraham Lincoln said, there's no higher office than that of the citizen. I'm first-generation American. My father was a German immigrant. My mother is a Filipino immigrant. I'm the first in my family to go to college, and I am deeply grateful for you being here today to participate in this and to listen and to think about what you think about. One of the things that I know to be true about our American representative democracy is that it is based on the citizen. And when we talk about a government of the people, by the people, for the people, it is also with the people. And I think you've heard all of us say that we could not be who we are without you. I do volunteer work in South Africa in the summertime doing personal development training for principals in rural schools, because South Africa is the largest emerging democracy. And the word that they have there is Ubuntu, which is very similar to our word Kuleana, that I would not be who I am without you. And so I want to share with you that the Lieutenant Governor's office works for you. And as a public servant, as a career public servant, I've always worked for you, and I will continue to work for you. I am deeply grateful as well that my son, as I mentioned, is here and has the patience with me. He said I was really high maintenance during this period of time. So if you happen to see me and you see me a little bit high maintenance, please do give me a hug. Give all of us a hug, because we are all working in this for you, and we do care very deeply about what happens to our state, and particularly the voice of the neighbor islands. So thank you so much for being here today. Aloha.
I appreciate you staying with me this far. Just another 3 minutes of your time, please. Hawaii Stream interviewed her after the forum was pa.
We're here with Representative Lyla Berg, who is running for Lieutenant Governor. And Lyla, how do you feel the debates went for you? Did you feel comfortable up there?
Absolutely, and I'm an educator, so any opportunity to share ideas and engage other people in discussion is a very natural and a very desirable place for me. Regarding the debates, it wasn't really debates. It was wonderful to have so many people from the community show up, and that's, I think, why I'm so grateful that this democratic process really works. The questions were challenging, some of them, because there isn't one answer. Right. And all of us as Democrats resonate fairly similarly in our want for the community to be engaged and for health services. But you know, I'm the only farmer that showed up here in this race, and the only mother, a single working mother now. So I have a different perspective, and I'm hopeful that this debate allowed the audience to see that having a different perspective actually is interesting, exciting, supportive, and motivating for other people to get involved.
And you're very right about pointing out the fact that it wasn't really a debate. It seemed more like a forum as opposed to a debate.
Exactly. And it's hard to debate with 7 people,
yes,
or 6 people. 6 people, yeah. There are some others in the race as well.
Right.
And I think what we need to do in this election in particular is to ask different questions and to keep talking with one another and having that dialogue. From where I've sat in the House as the Vice Chair of Education for the last 6 years, I recognize that fewer and fewer people are coming to the Capitol to advocate or to lobby or to have us understand different perspectives. The neighbor island perspective is absolutely essential, particularly having to do with land, agriculture, and natural resources. We in Honolulu don't always remember what it's like to go swimming. And unfortunately, I represent the East Oahu, so I have Hawaii Kai to Kaimaki, and my district is always holding me accountable for my decision, but also including me. And I would ask that the community includes their elected officials in such a manner.
Now, having someone's vote, of course, is a big honor when you ask somebody to vote for you and they give you that vote. You have some time now, and go ahead and tell our viewers as to why they should choose Lyla Berg.
Well, I'm Lyla Berg. I'm first on the ballot. That's an easy choice. But other than that, I will find ways and explore ways to eliminate the gridlock and those political barriers. Because this political field is now a new career field for me as an educator, I have a different perspective on looking at situations. And I believe it's time. I believe it's time that we ask different questions, we involve more people, and we look at our situation not as a problem or not as an insurmountable circumstance, but as an opportunity. And I would certainly like to invite the young people to be part of that process.
Once again, this is Lyla Berg, who's on the ballot for Lieutenant Governor.
I hope my mom's giving you reasons to vote for her. But first and foremost, I encourage you to vote in this year's primary election. Mahalo for your time.